going to do right now is we're going to see 2 speeches in a row, and these are the showcase speeches from our tournament. We had about 10 students who auditioned for these positions, and our first speaker is David Costa. He is from the Ambassador chapter. Right here, it means the Woburn. Yeah, Ambassador chapter, shout out! One of your very own. So he comes from the town of Lynn, and he's going to come out and he's going to do his literary interp. So hear it for David.
Imagine a faraway land where animals talk. Magic is in the air, and imaginary creatures come to life. I'm describing the country of Narnia, masterfully crafted by C.S. Lewis. This 7-book series is known as The Chronicles of Narnia. Hello everyone, my name is David, and today I will be interpreting a famous passage from the 3rd book in the series, The Horse and His Boy, a touching allegory on how God reveals his blessings in the midst of our trouble. I do think that I must be the most unfortunate boy that ever lived in the whole world. Everything goes right for everyone, except me. Those Narnia lords and ladies got safe away from Tosh Barn, but I was left behind. And being very tired and having nothing inside of him, Shasta felt so sorry for himself that the tears rolled down his cheeks. What put an end to all this was a sudden fright. Shasta discovered that someone, or somebody, was walking beside him. It was pitch dark and he could see nothing, and the thing was going on beside him so quietly he could hardly hear any footfalls. What he could hear was breathing. His invisible companion seemed to breathe on a very large scale, and Shasta got the impression it was a very large creature. He had come to notice this breathing so gradually, he had hardly any idea how long it had even been there. It was a horrible shock. He bit his lip in terror, but now that he really had something to cry about, he stopped crying. The thing, unless it was a person, was going on beside him so quietly, Shasta began to hope he had only imagined it. But just as he was becoming quite sure of it, there came a deep, rich sigh out of the darkness beside him. That couldn't be imagination. He had felt the warm breath of the thing on his chilly left hand. At last, he could bear it no longer. Who are you? One who has waited long for you to speak. Are you a giant? You may call me a giant, but I am not like the creatures you call giants. I can't see you at all. Wait, you're not something dead, are you? Please do go away. What harm have I ever done to you? I'm the unluckiest person in the whole world. Once again, he felt the warm breath of the thing on his hand and face. There, that is not the breath of a ghost. Tell me your sorrows. Shasta was a little reassured by the breath, so he told him how he had never known his real father or mother and was brought up sternly by a fisherman. And then he told their escape and how they were chased by lions and forced to swim for their lives. And then he told of all the dangers in Tosh Barn and about his night among the tombs and how the beast howled at him out of the desert. And then he told the heat and the thirst of their desert journey and how they were almost at their goal when another lion chased and wounded Erebus, and also how long it had been since he had anything to eat. I do not call you unfortunate. Don't you think it was bad luck to meet so many lions? There was only one. What on earth are you talking about? Were you listening? I just said there were at least 2 the first night, and there was only one lion, but he was swift of foot. How do you know? I was the lion. I was the lion who forced you to join with Erebus. I was the cat who comforted you among the houses of the dead. I was the lion who gave your horses a new strength of fear for the last mile so that you should reach King Lune in time. And I was the lion whom you do not remember, who pushed the boat in which you lay, a child, so near death, so that I came to shore where a man sat wakeful at midnight to receive you. Then it was you who wounded Erebus? It was I. But what for? Child, I'm telling you your story, not hers. I tell no one any story but his own. Who are you? Myself. Myself. Thank you.
I'm getting tears from that beautiful story. It's just so rich and so real. David, you did such a good job. All right, we're going to have another speaker now in our showcase, and this is Joanna Zhu, and she is coming from Bridgewater, New Jersey, and she is in Chapter Embers. She has been on the Regional Student Leader team for 2 years, and she is going to bring us a public advocacy speech. So here, let's give a hand for Joanna Zhu.
For that wonderful introduction. My name is Joanna, and like she was saying, I'm going to present my public advocacy about wonder. I have a question for you. What is this? Box. Yeah, most people would say that this is a box. But there's a small group of people who will say that this is not a box. And what's fascinating is that these are the same people who are blasting off in spaceships, building castles that tower over entire kingdoms, or stealing pirate ships across wild, endless seas, all before the age of 5. I remember sitting in my little treehouse for hours, completely absorbed in a world that existed only in my imagination. But somewhere along the way, that changed. Now when I look at this, it is just a box. And it's not just me, this happens to so many of us. So as we grow older, why do we lose the ability to wonder? In our fast-paced world, we're swept in the rush of our busy lives, where we always try to be productive, and every moment feels like it has to be filled. Meanwhile, boredom gets a bad rep. Eureka mindset emphasizes how it's seen as a sign of laziness or a waste of time. But what if boredom itself wasn't something to be avoided? What if that time to wonder was actually when the thinking begins? How many of you have heard of Harry Potter? I see lots of hands, and I bet you have. But have you ever heard of how J.K. Rowling came up with that idea? She was sitting in a delayed train with no phone and nothing to do. And while she was bored, she let her mind wander, and suddenly she imagined a school of magic and a boy who didn't know that he was a wizard. That long, boring train ride was actually the start of one of the most successful book series, and my personal favorite. But this case wasn't the odd one out, as Wiley researchers have found that about only 29% of our ideas occur when we're fully focused on a task. Meanwhile, 45%, nearly half, happen when we're doing something unrelated. So why are we more creative when we step back rather than push harder? A scientific report study found that there's actually a link between mind wandering and creativity. During downtime, our minds activate a system called the default mode network, which links imagination, memory, and creativity. In other words, when our minds wander, we may lose focus on what's in front of us, but in exchange, our brains access memories, combine ideas, and make connections. That's why solutions often seem to appear when walking, staring out a window, or in the shower. Actually, cognitive psychologist Scott Kaufman found that about 72% of us get our best ideas in the shower. Now, I'm not saying that we should take more showers. Actually, not all mind wandering leads to creativity. Mind wandering alone isn't enough. Some thoughts are repetitive, unfocused, or completely random. So creative thinking depends on more how these thoughts flow. As Steve Jobs once put it, creativity is just connecting things. Many of history's greatest breakthroughs happened when someone combined their knowledge, experiences, and had that curiosity, that choice to wonder. Let's take Percy Spencer, an engineer working with radar technology. Now, Percy always had a chocolate bar on him. So one day while he was working on his radar, he reached into his back pocket and found that his chocolate bar completely melted, even though he hadn't felt any heat. His wonder and the chocolate bar led him to invent the microwave oven, changing the way people cook all around the world. But Percy hadn't planned on transforming the world. He started with something much simpler, a pause and wonder. But today, that space for wonder is quickly disappearing. We're surrounded by instant answers, social media, Google, AI. Researchers from Science Direct found that when people feel even a hint of boredom, they reach for something. Their phone, app, games, video, anything to keep their minds occupied. We no longer sit with our questions, wrestle with uncertainty, or ponder long enough to think deeply. This idea kept coming back to me, and it made me realize how little time we actually give ourselves to think like that. I started to reflect on my own habits, and I decided I was going to practice doing nothing. Every day, I would set my timer for 20 minutes, put my phone aside, and find a comfy place to sit. With no music, no distractions, I let my mind go wherever it wanted. At first, it felt strange, but soon I was replaying conversations, making connections that I hadn't thought of before, or working through things I hadn't processed. Sometimes it was random, sometimes it was reflective. Sometimes I didn't even know what I thought about, but I know I always came out of it feeling clearer. We're so used to filling every empty moment of our lives that we don't really notice it anymore. The drives, listening to music, the elevator rides, checking notifications, even though there's nothing new. These are all simulations we've normalized without realizing we're replacing our time for our own original thinking. So today, I want to challenge you to take back that space again. Take a walk without headphones, eat a meal without scrolling, watch the sunset without taking a picture. The next time you're bored, pause before rushing to fill that space. So now, let me ask you this question again. What is this?
A race car.
Yeah, it's all
A potato.
a potato. Let's think outside the box. Yeah, these are all amazing answers. So let's think outside of the box, because in that space is a time to wonder. Thank you.